I'm Bryon Summers, photographer and content creator, and I want to share with you a couple ways that film photography has helped my digital photography. Let's get into it. So the first difference I'm going to point out about film versus digital is that you go from shooting on something like this to something like this, right? Clearly the glaring differences are size of the memory storage. A memory card versus a roll of film, and it's 36 shots on here versus 8 gigabytes of storage. And this is just a small throwaway card. This is just something I just, you can have a handful of these and just throw them in your camera, spray and pray, and have up to 1,000 or more, whatever the crazy number is. Whatever your card can hold is what you can shoot. This, typically if you get something from the store, unless you're rolling your own film, you only have 36 exposures on here, and that's 36 if they come out the right way. With these, you can scroll back, delete, and just keep going. Each roll of film is labeled by its sensitivity. So this particular film is Portrait 400. It's 400 ISO. That's the film speed. That's the sensitivity of it. So whatever this is, I need to put it in my camera, my film camera, and set that to recognize whatever ISO I'm shooting on. This little broken dial right here was where you would tell what ISO you want. Matter of fact, better example. Same thing. This is a film camera, Mamiya 645. It takes film, much larger film, but nonetheless, this is where you would indicate what kind of film you have in it. You would let the camera know I'm shooting with 800 speed film, and you would go on, and the camera would do the rest. So ISO. Some cameras might have ASA on them as well, but it stands for International Standards Organization, or if you have ASA, it stands for American Standards Association. These groups determine the sensitivity of film, among other things, but for this particular talk or subject, we'll stick to cameras. ISO is typically something you cannot change. It's what the film is determined to be. It's labeled as 400, 800, whatever the speed is, it is what it is. Once I gained a better understanding of ISO, that helped me set up my exposure triangle in digital photography. So when I get my camera, my digital camera, the first thing I do is set my ISO, and then from there I go to my shutter speed and my aperture, or sometimes aperture to shutter speed. Either way, I always start with the ISO because typically that cannot change. So if I know I'm shooting in a bright setting, I set my ISO to something sensitive enough to handle that, like 100 speed. If I know I need to go into a room where it's a little darker than a bright setting, like the subway or inside of a house with regular lights, I'm gonna need 800 speed film. So I would stick to that ISO setting from my digital camera and go from there. So that's one way that ISO helped me get better as a digital photographer. It helped me understand that triangle a lot better, and it helped me get to my settings a lot faster. Which brings me to the next lesson I learned from film photography. Shooting on film cameras, knowing that I only had 36 shots to possibly expose the right way, it made me get more selective. Shooting traditionally with 36 exposures, knowing you only have a limited amount to shoot, you're not going to get all 36 exposures to come out the exact way that you want. Typically on a digital camera, you would just scroll through the ones you don't like and just delete them and make more room for new ones, or immediately get a chance to try that shot over again. So the next thing I learned from shooting with film was to get it right the first time, or at least try. So that means knowing the settings, knowing your exposure triangle, knowing what sensitivity film you need, knowing that you need to have a tripod for this or whatever you need to have in place to get it right the first time. Don't just rely on that memory card or that digital camera, because on the job, anything can happen. And there are a few other things that you can do in digital photography to help you become more selective with your shot, such as shooting with a smaller memory card. Now, if you want to practice getting more selective with your shots and you don't want to get a film camera just yet, you can just get a smaller card, and having less space will make you think about being more selective with those shots. I know you can always delete them, but This is like the honor system with yourself. Don't cheat yourself and you'll win every time. So if you have an 8 gig card lying around versus that 32 or 64 or 128, try that whenever you're just going out, or just take one card. Shooting on film, you have to understand the time period this was created in. People weren't thinking about Photoshop, it was all in camera or in the darkroom. Today we have Lightroom, and we still have darkrooms and different things we can do with the technology we have today. But when certain films we like were created in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they weren't thinking about Photoshop just yet. They were thinking about the process they have to do after they shoot this shot. So if that means taking the care to having a light meter, and this is something I just got off of eBay. The battery's dead right now, but it's just a simple replacement and I'm back to it. But something like this will help you if you don't have a built-in light meter already in your camera. If you shoot with a medium format camera like this one, you can have a top like this that has a light meter inside, or you can have just a waist level viewfinder that just looks down and shows you whatever is in your frame. But if you use that, you might need a light meter. This one already has a light meter inside. That's the Mamiya 645. If you want to take the purest approach and not do any edits to your shot, this also is something that you want to consider getting it right the first time, so that you don't have to do any crazy edits in a digital world. Another thing to consider when comparing digital to film is storage. So with digital, storage could look like this, and a little hard drive, maybe smaller than this. With film, storage looks like this, a binder. Now your storage might look a little different depending on how you have, or how much film you shoot. This is just one binder I got from Adorama for I don't even know how much, but this is just something that you can keep your sheets of film and keep them away from the dust and the light. Snap it up, store it on a shelf somewhere. So there you have it. These are just a few ways that I think film photography has helped my digital and overall photography, just from understanding where photography came and where it's going and what digital is emulating and trying to improve upon. So whether you want to refine your shots or work on getting it right the first time, or just understand a certain aspect about it, I suggest go out and get you a camera off of eBay or the thrift store or your dad's closet, mom's closet, brother, sister, whoever. Or if you don't want to go out and get a analog camera, film camera, you can just get a smaller card, 8 gig card like we mentioned, throw that in the camera, and that'll practice limiting the amount that you shoot as well. Alright, that's it for now, but until the next episode, you can follow me at Bryon Summers on Instagram and visit sumsbrand.com for original art, prints, graphic tees, and posters. Always, there's a 10% discount if you use the discount code SUMS, and right now through the holiday season, there are more codes on the site. So subscribe, watch, hit that bell for more alerts, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.